Hey guys, it's Danny. Now autumn has officially arrived, which means the weather is cooling down and it's nice and crisp. And with that tends to come cravings for comfort foods. So today I'm gonna share with you a warm and comforting spaghetti squash skillet. And can we please get a big thumbs up if you guys enjoy clean and delicious comfort foods as much as I do. Now, this is a recipe I tweaked ever so slightly from a blog called Clean Food Crush, which is jam-packed with lots of simple, nourishing, clean and delicious recipes. So if you're looking for more recipe inspiration, be sure to check them out and give them some love. The first thing that needs to happen is we need to have our spaghetti squash cooked. So if you're in a hurry, you could do this in the microwave in about 12 to 15 minutes. You just have to make sure that you poke some holes in your squash first so it doesn't explode. But hands down, for the best flavor, you want to roast your spaghetti squash. So all I do is trim off each end of my squash, gently cut it in half lengthwise, scoop out those seeds, season it with a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Then I place it on a rimmed baking sheet, which I've sprayed with a little bit of cooking spray so nothing sticks. Pop the whole thing into a 400-degree oven for about 40 minutes or until it's tender. And then once it's cool enough to handle, gently scrape out those spaghetti-like strands and your squash is ready to go. Now, other than the spaghetti squash, this is a one-pot meal. Everything happens in one big pan, so it's perfect for busy weeknights. And if you really wanted to get ahead of yourself, you could make your spaghetti squash on the weekend when you're doing your meal prep, and you'd be one step closer to a finished meal. So I've got a nice big non-stick skillet heating up over a medium-high heat, and to that I am adding 1 pound of grass-fed ground beef. You could also do a bison, a turkey, a chicken, whatever your preference is. Now, I'm not adding any extra fat in the pan at this point because even a very lean cut of ground beef will have plenty of fat in it to get the meat browned up. So I'm going to season this with a little bit of salt, a little bit of black pepper, and then I'm just going to use my wooden spatula here to break up the beef. The goal is to get it into small little crumbles, and we want to get it browned, have all that pink removed, right? So it's going to look just like this. Now, in the name of not having a ton of dirty dishes, I'm just going to push the beef over to one side of the pan, and then I'm going to add just a teaspoon or so of olive oil to the other side. Side note, if your beef had more fat than mine and there was more fat in the pan, you could use that fat to saute the veggies, but mine was pretty lean, so I'm adding a little bit extra. Then I'm adding in 1 chopped onion and 1 chopped bell pepper. I'm going to season that with a little bit more salt and a little bit more pepper just to season the layers as we go. And I'm going to let this cook for about 5 minutes or so until those veggies have that raw edge off of them and are starting to be a little bit tender. Then I'm going to mix those veggies into the beef, and we'll slide all of that over to one side of the pan and make some room for the next visitors. I've got 1 cup of baby bella mushrooms that I've diced up nice and fine, and 4 cloves of chopped up garlic. I'm going to season it with a little bit more salt and a little bit more pepper, and we're just going to let this go for about 2 or 3 minutes until the mushrooms begin to release their liquid and the garlic smells really fragrant. Now, I just love adding mushrooms to dishes that have beef in them because mushrooms have a very hearty, beefy texture and taste to them. So it's an easy way to bulk up the hearty factor of the dish by simply adding in more vegetables, which, by the way, if you don't do meat at all and you wanted to keep this dish vegan or vegetarian, you could double or triple up the mushrooms, even do a variety if you wanted, and then add a can of cannellini beans just to add a little bit of protein, and you can enjoy this one-pan skillet just the same sans the meat. Once the mushroom has released its liquid, the garlic is smelling delicious. I'm going to mix that in with my veggies and my beef, and we're going to finish this off with 3 cups of fresh diced tomatoes. If you didn't have fresh, you could also use about 1.5 cups of canned diced tomatoes, and 1 15-ounce jar of tomato sauce. Then I'm going to sprinkle on top a tablespoon of Italian seasoning. And I love these spice blends because instead of having to buy 20 different spices, you buy a spice blend and you get it all in one jar. So this Italian seasoning is going to give you a little bit of thyme, a little bit of sage, oregano, rosemary. You really cover all your Italian bases. So I'm just going to stir this all together, get all of those flavors incorporated, and then I'm going to let the whole thing come up to a light boil. You just want to start to see that bubble. Then I reduce it down and let it simmer for about 10 minutes or so, and this whole dish is ready to go. Now, completely optional, you could take your spaghetti squash, dump it into the skillet, mix it all together, and serve it just like that. I've done that before, but I have found that I prefer to use my spaghetti squash as the base, kind of like a bowl of pasta, and then spoon this veggie and meat mixture right over the top. If you really want to make those flavors pop, give it a little sprinkle of fresh basil and enjoy. I love the flavors of this dish. It's like an Italian classic, but clean and delicious. So you guys have to do me a favor. When you try this, snap a picture, tag me on Instagram and Facebook so I can see all the deliciousness you're whipping up in your very own kitchens. If you want to print this recipe, head on over to cleananddelicious.com. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Danny Spies. I will see you back here next time with some more clean and deliciousness. Cheers. So I've got a nice big non-skit. Un, dos, tres. You're gonna get basil and parsley and oregano, a little bit of sage, a little bit of margarine, all in one. Why are you looking at me like that?
Margarine?
Margarine. Marjoram?
Margarine.
Let's just pick like 3 of them.